Welcome to Hidden Tales, where forbidden, fleeting, and fiery love stories are told with all their passion. If you believe every moment of love deserves to be heard, hit subscribe and ring the bell to catch the next chapter. Now, let the story begin. The sky over Santa Barbara glowed with fiery orange as the sun dipped below the horizon, its light shimmering on the calm Pacific waves. Lauren Mitchell, a 30-year-old tech entrepreneur, sat in her white convertible Porsche, gripping the steering wheel tightly. She had just left a charity gala at a five-star beachfront hotel, where she'd once been the center of attention. Now, after being ousted as CEO of her family's company, she felt like a bird with broken wings. Her black silk dress hugged her curves perfectly, but her eyes, hidden behind designer sunglasses, carried a quiet sorrow. Suddenly, a loud thud echoed. The car jolted, the rear right tire completely flat. Lauren pulled over on a quiet coastal road miles from downtown. No cell service, no passers-by, just her, the broken car, and the glittering sand under the fading sunset. Lauren stepped out, her stilettos sinking into the sand. "Great. Now what?" she muttered, exasperated. She popped the trunk, but had no clue where to start. Sweat beaded on her forehead, messing up her perfectly styled dark hair. She'd walked a few yards, her shoes scuffed by sand, when a deep voice came from behind. "Looks like you've been stuck here all day." Lauren spun around, startled. A young man, about 19, stood a few feet away. Tall, with a lean, muscular build, his tanned skin gleamed under the sunset. His white t-shirt clung to his frame, sleeves rolled up past his elbows. Sweat glistened on his neck, trailing down to his collarbone. Worn work boots dragged through the sand, and his eyes, deep, steady, seemed to see right through her. Lauren slid her sunglasses down, sizing him up. "Long enough to want to set fire to every cactus around here," she quipped, her tone sharp but tinged with relief. He grinned, a small, magnetic smile. "Mind if I take a look?" Lauren hesitated. Out here alone, she didn't have many options, but his clear, unguarded gaze made her nod. "Go for it." He dropped a dusty backpack, unzipped it, and pulled out a pair of worn gloves and a small toolkit that looked like it had been passed down for generations. "Got a spare tire?" he asked, already kneeling by the flat. Lauren gestured to the trunk. "Probably in there." He opened it with practiced ease, pulled out the spare, and got to work, silent and focused. Lauren leaned against the car, arms crossed, watching him. There was something captivating about his movements, precise, deliberate, almost hypnotic. His hands, rough with calluses, moved with a rhythm that drew her in. The sunset cast a glow on his brow, his dark curly hair damp with sweat. Lauren's pulse quickened, a dangerous thrill stirring inside her. She cleared her throat, breaking the silence. "You do this a lot?" He didn't look up, just said, "Sometimes. My uncle owned a shop nearby, taught me everything before he passed." His words made her pause. She knew nothing about him, but his focus, his indifference to her luxury car or designer heels, sparked her curiosity. Minutes later, he stood, wiping his hands on faded jeans. "Done." Lauren reached for her wallet, pulling out a stack of bills. "Let me pay you." He held up a hand, stepping back. "No need, ma'am. Just glad I was on this road today." Lauren froze, her hand hovering over her leather clutch. "You don't want anything?" He shrugged, that gentle but firm smile returning. "Got what I need." Lauren stared, unsure what surprised her more, his skill or his refusal. "What's your name?" she asked, her voice catching slightly. Jake Carter." He slung his backpack over his shoulder. "You." Lauren Mitchell." She answered, feeling like she'd shared a secret. He nodded, his smile fleeting like the sunset, then walked away, his tall frame casting a long shadow on the sandy road. That night, Lauren sat on the balcony of her family's oceanfront villa, a glass of chilled Pinot Grigio in hand. Her phone buzzed incessantly, texts from her assistant, friends, and former partners who'd turned their backs 3 weeks ago when the board voted her out as CEO. She ignored them. Instead, she thought of Jake, his calloused hands, his low, warm voice, the way he walked away without looking back. She'd had it all, wealth, status, power. But 3 weeks ago, when the board called it a smooth transition, Lauren called it betrayal. Jake, with his rough hands and honest eyes, had shown her something new. Later, Lauren found herself driving back to that coastal road. She passed the gas station, the rocky cliffs, her eyes scanning the roadside for a familiar figure. She told herself it was foolish. She was a multimillionaire who'd run a tech empire. He was a kid who fixed cars, a decade younger, from a world she barely knew, but something in his gaze wouldn't let her go. Near the end of the road, she spotted him. Jake was atop a rickety ladder, nailing boards to a small house's overhang. An elderly woman stood below, calling out cheerfully, "Careful with that ladder, Jake. It's older than me." Lauren parked, stepped out, her heart racing. She wore a flowing silk dress, the ocean breeze pressing it against her skin. Jake didn't notice her until the woman shouted, "Jake, you've got a visitor." He turned, blinked, then smiled, a cautious, curious smile. "Lauren, you again." He climbed down, wiping his hands on his shirt, his eyes flicking over her, lingering briefly on the curve of her dress. Lauren smiled, hiding her nerves. "Just passing through. Tire's still good. Thanks to you." He shrugged. "You already thanked me." Lauren glanced at the overhang, the nails driven in neatly. "You do this a lot. Fix houses, fix cars." Jake nodded. "Folks need help, I help. I like working with my hands." The sea breeze carried the scent of wood and sand. Lauren stepped closer, offering him a cold water bottle from her car. Their fingers brushed for a second, sending a shiver through her. "Thanks," Jake said, uncapping it, his eyes never leaving hers. Lauren took a breath. "You like coffee?" He grinned, a real dangerous smile this time. "Depends who's asking." Lauren's voice dropped. "Someone who's not ready to leave this road." They stood there, under the sunset, an invisible thread pulling them closer, though both knew it was a line they shouldn't cross. The Santa Barbara morning sparkled, waves lapping gently at the white sand. Lauren Mitchell drove her Porsche convertible, the ocean breeze tangling her dark hair. She told herself she was just passing through, checking the tire, or looking for a place to unwind after stressful weeks. But deep down, she knew the real reason. Jake Carter, the 19-year-old with rough hands and piercing eyes, had haunted her since their roadside encounter. She couldn't forget his confident tire fix, his refusal of payment, or the charged glance when they parted. Today, she deliberately returned to the area near his uncle's old shop, her heart pounding with a forbidden longing. Lauren pulled up to a small beachside cafe where the scent of salt mingled with roasted coffee. The place was weathered, with worn wooden tables and a lazily spinning ceiling fan. She walked in, her pearl-colored silk dress clinging to her, drawing glances from locals sipping coffee. She sat in a corner, ordered a black coffee, and gazed out the window, searching for him. She told herself it was a dumb idea. She was a multimillionaire who'd run a billion-dollar tech firm. He was a young mechanic from a different world. But then, the bell above the door jingled, and Jake walked in. He wore a fitted gray t-shirt, his toned arms streaked with dust. Sweat glistened on his neck, his sleeves smudged from work. He nodded to the cafe owner, then caught Lauren's gaze. He blinked, surprised, then smiled. That cautious, magnetic smile. "Lauren," he said, his voice low and resonant. "You're here." Lauren smiled, trying to seem casual despite her racing pulse. "Just passing through. Wanted to try the coffee." Jake raised an eyebrow, seeing through her excuse. "You pass through a lot." He slid into the seat across from her, their knees brushing under the small table. A spark shot through Lauren, but she didn't pull away. They talked, cautious at first, like a careful dance. "What do you do besides fix cars and roofs?" Lauren asked, leaning forward, the neckline of her dress dipping slightly. Jake sipped his coffee, his eyes flicking over her before looking away. "Whatever needs doing. Plumbing, carpentry, anything hands-on. My uncle taught me young. Said if you can fix things, you'll always have work." Lauren nodded, drawn to his steady voice. "What about dreams? Got any?" Jake's smile was faint, his gaze distant. "Maybe open my own shop. Nothing big, just enough to teach kids around here how to fix cars, build stuff, give them a shot, like my uncle gave me." Lauren felt his sincerity, and it stirred something in her. She spoke softly. "I thought I had everything. A company, status, power. 3 weeks ago, they took it all. Now I don't know who I am." "You're still you, just finding a new path." Lauren smiled, feeling an unexpected connection. She touched her coffee cup, her fingers grazing the rim, her eyes locked on his. "You make it sound so simple." He shrugged, a faint smile playing on his lips. "Not simple, but sometimes doing something real makes things clearer." Lauren's heart raced. She was drawn to him, not just his rugged looks, but how he made her feel seen. not as a failed CEO, but as a person. The air between them grew heavy, an invisible pull drawing them closer. Lauren leaned in, her hair falling over her shoulder, her gaze unwavering. Jake stirred his coffee, his strong but gentle fingers brushing hers when he reached for his cup. A jolt ran down her spine. "Ever think about leaving this place?" she asked, her voice low, laced with intent. Jake met her eyes, his gaze smoldering. "Yeah, but not to run away, to find where I belong." His words felt like a challenge, and Lauren wanted to cross that line. The door's bell jingled, and Michael, an old friend of Lauren, strode in. A cocky young businessman in a tailored suit. He spotted Lauren and Jake, his eyebrow arching. "Lauren, new hobby?" he said, smirking. "We're all worried sick at the 5-star. And you're here with a mechanic?" Lauren stiffened, her cheeks flushing. "Michael, don't." Jake stayed silent, his eyes hardening as if snapped back to reality. He stood, his voice calm but sharp. "I'm out. Thanks for the coffee, Lauren." He left without looking back, leaving Lauren hollow. She turned to Michael, her voice sharp. "What the hell was that?" He shrugged. "Just the truth. You're Lauren Mitchell. He's nobody. Don't embarrass yourself over a fling." Lauren gripped her coffee cup, fighting her anger. "You don't get it." She stood, left the cafe, but her mind was on Jake, his gaze, his walk, the forbidden thrill that made her heart race. That night, Lauren sat on her villa's balcony, staring at the ocean. The cool breeze didn't calm the heat inside her. She replayed the moment their knees touched, Jake's eyes holding hers, restrained but intense. She opened her phone to text an apology but stopped. Instead, she wrote in her notebook, "Community Garage Project, a place for people like Jake to shine." It wasn't just a business idea. It was a reason to see him again, to hold on to this fleeting spark, even if it might burn them both. The next morning, Lauren drove to Jake's shop. She wore a sheer white silk blouse, deliberately accentuating her shoulders and neckline. Jake was bent over a car, sweat glistening on his arms. He looked up, saw her, and his eyes flickered with that same heat, though he masked it. "Lauren," he said, wiping his hands. "Car trouble again?" She smiled, stepping closer, her voice low and suggestive. "No, Jake, this time I'm here for you." His gaze darkened, the air between them thick. She continued, "Saturday, I'm hosting a party at my villa. I want you there, not to fix anything, but to talk about an idea." Jake shook his head, his eyes shadowed. "I don't belong in your world, Lauren." She leaned closer, her voice soft. "Let me show you it's not as scary as you think." Jake's eyes burned with desire but restraint. "You're playing with fire," he said, his voice low. Lauren's heart pounded. "Maybe I like getting burned." They stood inches apart, and Lauren knew, fleeting or not, she couldn't turn back. Santa Barbara's night sparkled with city lights blending into the ocean's rhythm. Lauren Mitchell stood before her mirror in her oceanfront villa, her wine-red gown clinging to her curves. She took a deep breath, pushing down her nerves. Tonight's charity gala would bring her face-to-face with former partners who'd betrayed her during her ousting as CEO. But her mind was on Jake Carter, the young man whose smoldering eyes and rough hands had set her heart ablaze. She convinced him to attend tonight, claiming they'd discuss the community garage project, but they both knew it was an excuse. The attraction between them, a forbidden flame, was too dangerous to resist. The villa glowed with chandelier light, the clink of wine glasses mingling with soft jazz. Guests in tuxedos and gowns moved like waves in a sea of wealth. Lauren stood near the entrance, her eyes scanning the crowd, her pulse racing when Jake walked in. He wore a simple black shirt she'd sent him, hugging his toned frame. His old work boots looked out of place among polished loafers, but his presence, strong, enigmatic, drew stares. A few women whispered, pointing. Lauren approached, smiling to hide her tension. "You came," she said, her voice low, her eyes tracing his broad shoulders. Jake nodded, scanning the room. "This place, it's not my scene." Lauren touched his arm lightly, her fingers grazing the fabric. "Just stay with me, Jake." Lauren introducing Jake as my partner in a new project. But she felt the curiosity, even disdain in the guests' glances. A middle-aged man, Richard, a former partner, approached with a forced smile. "Lauren, heard you're working on something unusual. A community garage?" He glanced at Jake, his eyes dismissive. "And this is—" Lauren stood tall, her voice firm. "Jake Carter, who's helping me make it happen." Richard nodded, his smile cold. Interesting. Good luck. He walked away, leaving a tense silence. Jake leaned in, his breath warm against her ear. They think I'm your joke. Lauren shook her head, her hand tightening on his arm. They don't matter. Just you and me. She led him to the balcony where moonlight danced on the ocean. The air was cool, but the space between them burned. Lauren stood close, her red gown shimmering, her dark hair swaying in the breeze. Jake, she said, almost a whisper, I shouldn't want you. Not like this, not here, but I can't stop. Jake's eyes blazed, restrained but intense. Lauren, you know how dangerous this is. You've got this whole world. I'm just a guy who fixes cars. Lauren stepped closer, feeling the heat of his body, the scent of sweat and cedar cologne. I don't want this world without you. She touched his chest, her hand trembling, feeling his heartbeat. Jake grabbed her wrist, holding tight, his eyes locked on hers. You're playing with fire, he said, his voice low, both a warning and a plea. They stood inches apart, the air thick with desire. Lauren leaned in, her lips brushing near his, their breaths mingling. Her body burned with the forbidden thrill. Jake tightened his grip, as if to pull her closer or push her away. Lauren, he whispered, his voice rough, if we do this, there's no going back. Before she could answer, a sharp voice cut through. Lauren, what the hell are you doing? Michael stood at the balcony door, his eyes furious. Who's this guy? Your new toy? Jake released her, his gaze hardening. Lauren spun around, her voice sharp. Michael, enough. You don't get to judge. Michael sneered, eyeing Jake. Know your place, mechanic. Jake stood tall, silent, his jaw clenched. He brushed past Michael, leaving the balcony without a glance back. Lauren chased after him, calling his name in the dim hallway. Jake, wait! He stopped, turning, his eyes raw with hurt. You want me, but only in your world. I'm not your trophy to show off. Lauren shook her head, tears welling. No, Jake, it's not like that. I want you because you're you. She touched his arm, her fingers grazing his warm skin. I'm sorry. I didn't mean for this. Jake's eyes softened, but he kept his distance. You don't get it, Lauren. Every time I step into your world, I'm the odd one out. I don't want that. He walked away, leaving her alone, her heart heavy. The forbidden pull of their feelings, age, class, society's judgment, felt like an invisible wall, yet her longing only grew stronger. That night, Lauren sat on her balcony, the ocean breeze chilling her silk gown. She relived the balcony moment, their near kiss, Jake's breath on her skin, the vulnerability in his eyes. She opened her phone, saw Michael's text. Don't let feelings ruin you. She deleted it. Instead, she wrote in her notebook, a place for people like Jake to shine, no matter what the world thinks. She called her friend Emily, the only one who truly understood. I'm in too deep, Em, she confessed, her voice shaking. I know he doesn't fit my world, but I can't stop thinking about him. Emily sighed. If you want this, it's gonna hurt. But if it's real, it's worth it. Lauren nodded, staring at the moonlit waves, resolved to not let Jake slip away, no matter how forbidden. The Santa Barbara night was quiet, the sound of waves mingling with silver moonlight on the untouched sand. Lauren Mitchell stood outside Jake's small garage, her heart pounding like it might burst. She wore a sheer white silk dress, the ocean breeze molding it to her curves. After the tense gala, Michael's cruel words and Jake's wounded look, Lauren couldn't let things end like that. The attraction between them, though forbidden, was a fire consuming her from within. She had to face it, even if it cost her everything. Her reputation, her family, her heart. The garage was dimly lit, a single bulb casting light on greasy tools. Jake was bent over an old car, his gray t-shirt clinging to him, muscles flexing as he tightened a bolt. He looked up, saw Lauren in the doorway, and his eyes flickered with surprise, then wariness. Lauren, he said, wiping his hands, his tone cool. Lost again. Lauren stepped inside, her heels clicking on the concrete. No, Jake, I'm here for you. She stopped a few feet away, her gaze unwavering, raw with desire. I can't stop thinking about you. Not since the gala, the cafe, or the day you fixed my tire. I know this is wrong, eyes burning with restrained fire. Lauren, you know who we are. You've got your world. Villas, money, status. I've got these hands and this old shop. He held up his calloused hands, gleaming under the light. Lauren stepped closer, feeling his warmth, the scent of sweat and motor oil. I don't want that world without you, she said, her voice trembling but firm. She touched his chest, feeling his strong heartbeat. I know it's dangerous. I know what they'll say. About you, about me. But I don't care anymore. Jake grabbed her wrist, his grip tight, his eyes piercing. You're saying this because you're lost. You lost your company, your place. I'm not your way to find yourself. Lauren shook her head, tears brimming. You're wrong, Jake. You're not a tool. You're the only one who makes me feel alive. Seen. She leaned in, her lips inches from his, their breaths blending. The air was thick, the world holding its breath. Jake pulled her closer, and suddenly, his lips met hers. The kiss was a wildfire, fierce and desperate. Lauren wrapped her arms around his neck, her fingers tangling in his hair, feeling his strength against her. Jake's hands gripped her waist, her silk dress clinging to her skin in the ocean breeze. They kissed like it was their last chance, knowing it couldn't last. His lips were hot, his breath ragged, and Lauren felt herself melt. But Jake pulled back, breathing hard, his eyes conflicted. Lauren, we can't, he said, his voice hoarse. This will destroy us both. Lauren stood there, lips trembling, body still burning from the kiss. I don't care, she said, resolute. I want to try, Jake. I want you. And I want us to build something together, the community garage. Not because I need you, but because I believe you can change lives, like you changed mine. Jake looked at her, his eyes softening but wary. You don't get it, Lauren. If we do this, they'll tear you apart. Your family, your friends, your world. Lauren touched his cheek, her fingers tracing his tanned skin. Let them try. I'm not the girl afraid of losing everything anymore. A camera flash pierced the darkness outside the garage. Lauren and Jake turned, seeing a photographer snapping their picture. Lauren froze, realizing the situation had just spiraled. Jake let her go, his eyes darkening. I told you, this is your world, not mine. He stepped outside, facing the photographer, his voice cold. Get enough. Get out. The photographer fled, but Lauren knew the photo had captured their kiss. She turned to Jake, her voice shaking. Jake, I'll handle this, I promise. He shook his head, his eyes raw. You can't fix everything, Lauren. Not when they make me a joke and you a fool. He walked away, leaving her alone in the garage. By morning, social media was ablaze. The photo of Lauren and Jake's kiss spread like wildfire, with headlines screaming, Tech Heiress Falls for Young Mechanic. Lauren Mitchell from CEO to scandal. Her phone buzzed relentlessly. Texts from family, Michael, former partners. Her mother called furious. What are you doing with your life, Lauren? Who is he? Lauren didn't answer, shutting off her phone. She drove to a quiet beach, sitting on the sand, watching the waves. She thought of the kiss, Jake's body against hers, his eyes when he left. She knew the cost of this love, her reputation, respect, maybe her future. But Jake had made her feel alive for the first time in years. Lauren returned to her villa, opened her notebook, and reviewed the community garage plan. She wrote, a place for people like Jake to shine, no matter what the world thinks. She texted Jake, her tone gentle but firm. Jake, I'm going public with this project no matter what. Not for me, but for you, and for those who need us. Will you join me? She waited, heart pounding, unsure if he'd respond, but she'd made her choice. Forbidden or fleeting, she wanted to hold on to that fire, even if just once. The Santa Barbara sun blazed, casting golden light on the beach and sandy roads. The newly opened community garage stood modestly on a vacant lot, not far from the beach where Lauren Mitchell had stood, heart torn after her forbidden kiss with Jake Carter. The simple building, with wooden walls and a gleaming tin roof, was the realization of the dream she'd scribbled in her notebook. But today, at the opening ceremony, Lauren stood quietly among the crowd, her eyes on Jake, who stood on a wooden platform, speaking with a confidence she'd never seen before. Their kiss, that fleeting moment of passion, now felt like a distant memory, overshadowed by the harsh reality of their sleeves rolled up, spoke into the microphone, his voice carrying over the crowd of teens, locals, and small donors. I used to think I didn't belong anywhere, he began, his eyes scanning the eager faces. I grew up fixing cars, building things, doing whatever it took to get by. But I learned that when you build something, not for money or fame, but because it's right, you find your place. He paused, his gaze briefly meeting Lauren's, standing at the crowd's edge in a simple pale green dress, a far cry from the glamorous heiress of months past. Thanks to someone who gave me a chance to see that, he said, his voice soft but sincere. Lauren Mitchell, who believed a small garage could change lives. The crowd applauded, but Lauren's smile was faint, her heart tightening. She knew Jake's gratitude was genuine, but it also marked the end of their story. After the kiss in the garage, after the leaked photos and social media storm, Jake had kept his distance. He'd answered her texts, agreed to the project, but drew a firm line. "We can't, Lauren," he'd said in a brief meeting, his eyes full of regret. "Not because I don't want to, but because this world won't let us be." Lauren had tried to argue, but his gaze, strong yet wounded, made her see their love, though fierce, was a fleeting moment. At the ceremony, Jake led a group of teens through the garage, showing them how to use a wrench and grinder. He smiled, his voice warm as he guided a boy on aligning a tire. Lauren watched from a distance, her heart swelling with pride and aching with loss. She remembered that night's kiss, Jake's urgent breath, his hands on her waist, her silk dress clinging in the sea breeze. She remembered his eyes when he left, holding back words he couldn't say. Now, seeing him in the garage, she knew he'd found his place, but it wasn't with her. A young girl, about 15, ran up to Lauren holding a roughly carved wooden piece. "Miss Lauren, I made this in Jake's class. Isn't it cool?" Lauren smiled, touching the wood. "It's awesome, kiddo. Jake's a great teacher." The girl beamed, running back to Jake, and Lauren felt warmth mixed with sorrow. She'd done what she set out to do, created a place for people like Jake to shine, for kids like this girl to have a chance. But the cost was her heart, still yearning for something impossible. As the ceremony ended, Lauren approached Jake, their eyes meeting one last time. "You did great, Jake," she said softly, hiding her emotions. He nodded, his gaze kind but distant. "Thanks, Lauren. This place wouldn't exist without you." Lauren smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "I left something for you, on the desk in the garage." She turned away, not wanting him to see her tears. On the desk, she'd left a note. "Jake, you showed me who I could be, but we don't belong together. Keep doing amazing things like you did for me, Lauren." Lauren left the garage before the crowd dispersed, driving along the coast, the breeze in her hair. She stopped at a quiet beach, the same one she'd stood on after their kiss. She gazed at the ocean, moonlight dancing on the waves, and let herself relive that moment. Jake's warmth, his eyes, the forbidden fire that burned them both. She knew their love, though fierce, couldn't survive their world, but it had changed her, made her braver, truer to herself. She took a deep breath, let a tear fall, and smiled. "Thank you, Jake," she whispered to the wind. Did Lauren and Jake's story touch your heart? A forbidden, fiery, fleeting love that left beautiful scars on their souls. Have you ever loved someone the world wouldn't allow? Share your story in the comments. Let us know what makes your heart race. Don't forget to hit subscribe to Hidden Tales for more emotional love stories where every moment deserves to be told. Like, ring the bell, and join us in spreading the flames of love, even if they're just fleeting.